What's up everyone? Tuesday tips video here. Just talking about what I'm thinking about that's been going through my mind lately about the cost of cameras. And I think it's one of the most talked about subjects in the photography industry world. It's the budget. What is your budget for photography? So if you're a new photographer and you just bought a really expensive camera kit, I'm thinking like $2,500 plus. Let me know what you think about it so far in the comments, because I'd like to hear your experiences with it. I can be like any camera, the Sony FX3, the Canon, I don't know which mirrorless cameras. There's a bunch of mirrorless cameras out there that Canon is always releasing, and Sony is too. Sigma just released their other boxy camera. The Nikon still hasn't released any new cameras yet. The newest one I believe is just the Z8 and the Z6 III. But other than that, yeah, let me know how much you spent on your camera. Leave a comment below because I'd like to hear your thoughts on it and what you think about it, and do you think it was worth paying that much? And for those that are on a budget, you let me know how much is too expensive for you, because that was me when I started out photography. I started out with the Nikon D40. It was handed to me from my dad, and then when I was looking at lenses, I was like, the 51.8G was just released too, and it was like $225. Even back then, for $225, it was cheap. I knew and understood because I was more into photography, but even for like a noob like me, I was like, $225 is a lot of money. And that's not even like the expensive lenses, like the 70 to 200. That was just the 51.8G. I was even looking at the 51.8D, but obviously I didn't have a camera that autofocus, so I just had the D40. And then during this time I was looking at the D90, but at that time the D90 was $600 for a used one. That just goes to show how crazy it was back then. And I think between those on a budget and those that know their budget, it does really vary depending on how much you're into photography and how much you really want to take a deep dive into photography. It's why I talk about budget all the time. It's one of the questions I ask immediately when a family member or a friend is asking for a camera. I ask them how much your budget is, because it's one of the first things, and because one of the things that frustrates me on social media, because it is social media, is when I'm reading questions from an obviously new person that's commenting about, they want the best camera for the best pictures. Obviously, I know that a lot of skilled photographers understand that question is for newbies, but for some reason, that photographer has an extreme ego because they can afford all the latest and greatest gear, but they never show it. They can just blatantly say, hey, buy this camera. It's only $5,000, or, some outrageous amount, not a Hasselblad, but, something that's just way too much for a new person new photographer to get. And especially if it's out of your budget. It's insane what you read, but it's social media. It is what it is. But I think that's one of the most important things just to ask is, what is your budget and how much you're willing to spend? Because right now, I think any camera right now, right under the $1,200, even the $1,500 budget range is super good. I'm thinking of like the Z30, Z50, even the Sony A6000 line. Even if you're looking at A6100, used A6000s are like incredibly good. And I believe it was like the A6300 or the 6500, I'm not sure exactly, but those have face and eye detection. The Z30 and Z50 also both have eye and face detection. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Canons, but the modern Canon mirrorless cameras have face and eye detection, and that's insanely good already, because coming from someone that used DSLRs, we didn't have that feature. We didn't have that face and eye detection. So I would say anything under that $1,500 budget range is extremely good, especially if you're brand new photography. That's one thing I gotta know. If you're brand new to photography and you're looking for a camera and your budget is under $1,500 or even $2,000, I would suggest looking at any of those cameras under $2,000 or even $1,500. Start with those first, because you never know how much you're gonna use it. I know a lot of people are saying like get the best camera first, and then you'll eventually learn with it. I would say yes, but for me, I've been using used gear for like 10 plus years. I would highly recommend, and this just really depends too on the type of photographer you are or the type of person you are or whatever you want to do. I would say it really depends what you really want to do, but if your budget is under $1,500, buy used. For example, you can buy a used Nikon Z6. This is my main camera. It's been my main workhorse for 5 years. You can buy a used Z6 for, I think, depending on the condition it's in, you can buy it for well under, I think $900 now, well under $1,000, depending on the condition it's in. I've seen some locally go for under $800, but there you go. You have $800, and then if your budget's $1,500, you have an $800 camera body that's amazing already. It's a full frame camera. And then you just buy lenses, and the lenses really vary too. So there's a bunch of lenses under the $500 range that are like incredibly good. But anyways, just going back to like used gear. The Z6 is just one example. There's a bunch out there. I recommended a friend a A6000, A6500s. I've heard about the, again, I'm sorry, I don't know Canyons, but when someone asks about a specific Canyon model, I would say yes. Especially if it's under $1,000 and it's used, yes, go for it. Because I always want to tell people and family members that, you know, you don't need to spend so much on a new camera, especially if you're only going to use it here and there. You know, just make sure you know what your budget is and go from there, and just look at what's used out there. I would be very careful with, you know, Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist, because you don't know what the condition is in. And, you know, I've never had a bad experience. I actually bought my Z50 for like $300. Which is crazy because I bought it when it was still like $1,000, and then this guy sold it to me for $300 because something was wrong with it. Something was wrong with it. They couldn't get like the filter out. It had scratches on near the sensor. When I was inspecting it, it was perfectly fine. The guy was just like, he just never used it. You know, got really lucky with that one. That was just a crazy example. But I've read comments about other people having crazier deals with other cameras and lenses. So it's out there. You just have to keep looking. And then the second, so that was my answer to my first question. It was just a budget. The second question is, you know, what are you planning to do? And they want to do like 4K video and all that stuff. But it's like, you have to remember all of that tech, 4K video stuff, takes up a lot of memory, and you need a lot of computer power. In simple terms, that's a lot of, and you need a lot of computer power to really edit that 4K footage smoothly. All of my videos on my YouTube channel, they're not even 4K. They're just all 1080. I don't need 4K for my videos. I'm not testing out 4K footage. I'm just testing out Nikon DSLRs. Me personally, I'm still on the side of, you know, if you're just viewing it on your phone or your TV, 4K is pretty overkill. But if you really need it, I can understand, you know, the uses of. But editing 4K footage, you need a really powerful computer. I know some people say, yeah, you can just get a computer for like $1,600, $2,000. Still, that's still in the realm of your budget. You know, when people tell me like, yeah, you can just get a $2,000 computer, it's like, you're already spending $2,000 on a camera. You're spending another $2,000 on a computer. It builds up right away. That's already $4,000, and that's on the low end of, you know, computers and cameras too. So it gets really expensive really fast. I would just do a lot of research or talk to your photographer friend and ask them about what their budget is, or, you know, what their experience is. Because when people ask me, I'll tell them, don't get brand new ones, or don't get a brand new camera, especially if you're not familiar with it. Get a used one if you can. But if you're not sure and you just want to, you know, dip your toes into photography, used all day long. The more things you want to do, the more it's going to cost. And I think at the end of the day, cost does not equate to skill. You know, just because you can buy the latest and greatest stuff doesn't mean you can produce the best art too, especially in photography. Photography is one of those things where you do need to keep working on it to get better. I always kind of explain or, you know, tell people about like the mechanic metaphor, where, you know, you can't just go to Walmart, buy the 120 piece toolkit and think you're gonna do like a timing belt change with that. It's possible, yes, but you do need skills to really utilize those tools, and those tools are going to limit you too. But that's just an example. You know, buying the latest gear is not going to give you the best pictures, especially if you don't know what your settings are. And that's one of the things I'll see too. Like photographers or new photographers will say like, why is my picture blurry? You know, I bought this lens, I bought this camera, it's the best, but it's blurry during nighttime. Every photographer knows that in your low light situations, I think any low light situation, you're gonna get blurry pictures, especially if you don't know what your settings are. Hopefully this video kind of helps you kind of decide to And usually with the second question about, what you're planning to do, when I ask that question, it does throw them off a bit because they usually say, "Oh, I want to do everything." Sometimes they're not specific, but at least I can gauge how experienced they are with photography and what they want to do. You can go from there. I know there are Facebook groups and social media, and they'll suggest the latest and greatest gear because that's the easiest thing to do. Especially, and it's tough too, because on social media, I think it's really tough to start an actual conversation with somebody because there's a lot of typing. I think having a one-on-one conversation would probably be best, because when I'm talking with someone that's interested in photography, I'll show them. I mean, you have your phone, you can just show them like right away. That's how conversations start with photography, and that's how you can, for me, that's how I can, show them like, hey, this is what you can do, this is the potential of what this camera can do, and this is what this lens can give you. So there is a lot of information, and I think for anyone that's new to photography, don't try to get overwhelmed by like all the settings. Just have fun. I'm serious. Just get your camera, have fun, and don't think about how much you bought it for. Have fun with it, because that's the only way you're gonna learn. And if you do have a photography friend or a colleague or a mentor, ask them, because I think most of the photographers I know are more than willing to help you out. Let me know where you are in your photography journey too, because I'd like to know. It's always interesting to read what people got their cameras for too. If you bought a brand new camera, let me know what you think about it right now, especially for the new photographers. If you're a seasoned photographer, let me know like where you are in your journey and where you think your camera has led you to, because I've read stories on my comments about people switching brands, and it's just interesting to read where their photography journey is, because there's nothing wrong with switching brands. You're trying to get familiar with the camera, the buttons, and everything else, and you're trying to find something that fits you as a photographer. I really hope this video helps new photographers. Just something on my mind, because I was just thinking about like budget, because tax season's here. I don't think I'm gonna get any new lenses, but tax season's here, and I just want to make sure you're not getting screwed by someone with extreme ego out there that's just wanting to sell you stuff. I know WPPI is just out, and they probably have like the latest gears, so I'm expecting to see a lot of photographers and influencers talk about the latest gear. Man, that's really good though too. Like, they're really good at selling the dream setup. But it's, trust me, when you're there, I don't think I'm there yet with my dream setup, but yes, I would love the Z9 or the Z8. But I think they do a great job at showing what the camera can do. But at the end of the day, it's like, understand where you are with your photography skills, because that camera is not going to make you a better photographer. I think any seasoned photographer watching this video, you know what you want already. But I'm speaking to like the newer photographers, or someone that's just probably like the first year into photography, and they're still juggling around like, what are the settings? What's my style? Those are the people I'm talking to in this video. Just keep at it, have fun. While the influencers, while they're testing out the newest, latest, and greatest, I would highly recommend looking at a photographer or following a photographer that really inspires you. One photographer that inspires me is Sam Hurd Photography. He does like weddings and portraits. I've been following him for like years. I really like his style of photography. He's one photographer that I really like and I kind of get inspired by. So if Sam Hurd watches this, you're awesome, man. But yeah, that's just what I have for Tuesday's tips. If you have any questions about new cameras, used cameras, DSLRs, let me know in the comments, because I'm just here trying to help everyone out there that's where I've been, because I know how it's like to have a camera, be overwhelmed, and not understand any of the camera language. It takes time. Take your time, have fun, and don't worry about what others are doing. Just post up your pictures and share as much as you can. I'm trying to do that too still. Have fun, keep at it, and I really hope this video helps you out. And if you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe, because it does help my channel grow. Again, thanks for watching. See ya.